Oregon native Richard Jensen was a very good high school athlete, but he didn't fly to New York to talk to Section 2 wrestlers tonight about reversals or takedowns. His message was way more important than that. After a successful high school career, Jensen's life was derailed by drugs, then prison. He threw away nearly 2 decades of his life to addiction, but ultimately it was wrestling that saved him. 18 years after a successful high school career, he embarked on an even more impressive college career against much longer odds. Rich travels all across the country sharing his message, and we're very fortunate to have him in studio tonight. Rich, thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Take me back to the very beginning. Drugs was such a big part of your life, going down that path and then the recovery to get out of it. How was it first exposed to you?
Well, early on it was experimental. You know, it was marijuana, alcohol, and then within a couple of years it snowballed into harder drugs, and it just took hold and it never let go for 15 years.
When did you realize you had a problem?
Somewhere in the early 90s, coming back from a fishing trip, I realized that I was stuck and that it had a hold of my life and it was in the process of destroying me.
Did you make attempts that didn't work to try and get yourself right?
I did over the years, 15 years of addiction and crime. I spent 5 or 6 different times trying to get into treatment and get the help I needed. And I had glimmers of hope, but it never stuck, you know, it never stuck.
Was there ever a rock bottom for you?
There was. 2003 when I got sober, that was my lowest point. That was the bottom of the barrel. I was in the Oregon State Penitentiary. My mom passed away. My youngest daughter came and visited me with her mom, and it rocked me. And those things, and then being super sick and strung out, it all kind of snowballed together. And that was my magic. That was the magic of getting sober, was everything hit me at once.
So do you remember very specifically, was there that moment, that epiphany, where you kind of knew there was maybe an inner peace where you knew this is it, it's time to get things right?
I will say this, in 2003 when I got arrested for that very last time and they handcuffed me and hauled off my van and stuck me in the back of the car, there was a little bit of relief, like it's all over. Not necessarily that I was going to get clean and sober and change my life and find success, but right. It was over. The running, the hiding, all that stuff you deal with in addiction, you know, it was like it was finally, I was done running. Mm-hmm. Something was going to change right then and there.
Because you went from using to then manufacturing.
Absolutely.
So you were at a point where you could have spent the rest of your life in prison if you stayed on that path.
Absolutely. There was a chance for me to do life just like the rest of those guys. Mm-hmm. You know, and it's not just that, it's just being in the environment of that and having a bad decision happen and somebody gets hurt or something happens and then you're doing life anyway, or you kill somebody driving a car at night. There's a lot of things that can happen at that point and can result as a life-changing devastation.
So you get out, you'd made the promise to yourself that this is it, I'm going to stay clean. But with recidivism so high, how were you able to keep that promise?
You know, when I got released from prison and I got paroled to the Salvation Army, a homeless shelter, I was there for 60 days. And there were times when, you know, I didn't know if I could go on anymore without using. And there were times where my back was against the wall. I was at the very bottom, and I just kept thinking back about wrestling in my life back in the day and how peaceful and how balanced and how honest it was and how much it affected my life in a positive way. And I kept looking back at my mom and knowing that I'd never see her again, you know, and that I made a commitment I've made decisions like that over the years and commitments, and I've never been able to hold true. And I knew that this was my time. This was my chance to really change my life. And I really wanted to be successful in my life. I wanted things to be better.
So you enroll in community college and you track down the wrestling coach and tell me you want to go out for the team.
I did.
What did he say?
I did, and he said, you know, it's rarely ever been done, and the odds of you making the team were almost zero. You know, your age, your history, the things you've been through over the years, you forget how demanding the sport is. You forget what it really takes to compete at that level. And what I heard was, and you got to mind you, I've been sober a couple of years. I've calculated this move. I've thought about it in prison. I've thought about it over the years.
And you're 34?
At that time, I'm 36.
36.
Yeah, and What I heard when I left the office was that there was a small glimmer of chance that I could be part of the team. That's what I heard. And it inspired me, and I ran with it. And I knew that wrestling was going to be the linchpin to completely reorganizing my life and figuring out a way to find success in my future. I knew wrestling was the linchpin.
Was there ever a point when you started training, maybe the first match or two, and you're getting beat, where you thought, nah, I was wrong, I can't do this?
There was lots of times. I spent a whole season getting beat. 14, 15 losses and 2 wins. That's a lot of losses. And I spent months getting beat, and it's hard to look in the mirror in the morning. It's hard to look at your teammates. It's hard to continue on your quest, you know, but I knew, and there was times I wanted to throw in the towel. There was times I wanted to quit. My body hurt. I was, my esteem was shot. I was losing match after match after match. But, you know, there was something bigger that I was after, and it was to rebuild my life. And I knew that this is going to be that important piece in it. And so it was bigger than winning and losing a match. It was much bigger.
Were you ever ridiculed? I don't know if bullying is the right word, but ever teased for trying to do what you were doing?
You can. It's bullying. It's ridiculed. It's negative stuff. Absolutely. You know, there was a lot of adults that are like, "What are you doing? Why are you doing that? You know, what are you trying to prove?" And you know, the young kids on the team, they're 20 years younger than me. Some of them, you know, and they're like, "What is this guy doing here? Why are you here?" And I'm getting beat so much. And so, you know, but something, I'll be honest with you, something about that organized team sport like wrestling, you're so close-knit, and you're in a room together, and you're one-on-one, and you're showering together, sleeping together. You know, you get close, you get intimate, and somewhere along the way, something magical happened. And not only did I realized I was there for a much bigger purpose, but also the team in a whole. It was like I became an extension of the coach's arm. I brought life experience in the wrestling room, and it helped create an awesome environment, and it helped create success. I had my little piece in all that, you know.
So then somehow you turn the corner from the guy that's getting beat almost every night to winning very consistently. How did that happen?
I did. At the end of the first season, you know, I had a decision to make. Am I going to stay in it? Did I do what I came to do? And I hadn't done what I came to do yet, you know. And what I realized is that I needed to go back home, and this is exactly what I did. I set up and I trained all summer, twice a day, morning and night, and I trained hard, and I made a more rigid diet. And by the end of the summer, I knew this was my window of opportunity. This was it, and I wanted to fulfill I wanted to do everything I could do to find success on the mat. And so I spent the whole summer training. I lost 15 pounds. I gained this huge confidence by the end of the summer. I was excited. My mental toughness was much bigger, and I was in the best shape of my whole entire life. And I was confident, and wrestling, that's a huge part of it. Mental toughness and confidence is the key elements to winning on the mat. And so I went into the second season, and within two weeks, everybody's like, "This is a different man." You know, I'm beating guys, I'm winning the races, I'm winning the runs, all the little training things that we did. I was on top, and within 2 weeks, we went to an open tournament, and I competed at that lower weight class, and I ended up winning like 4 or 5 matches that day, and I placed in the tournament. I won more matches than I won the whole year before, and so with that, there was a couple of guys from bigger colleges with numbers by their name nationally, and I'd won the matches. It was incredible, and so my confidence went even higher, and so I went through that second season with a whole string of wins, and I had a really great winning season. And with that, I wrestled in the regional tournament. I placed second. I won a bunch of matches there, and I qualified for the national tournament. And so that, so I sleep well at night. You know, that void has been filled.
And you have this story of redemption. At what point did you think to yourself, it's a story that I need to share with high school wrestlers across the country?
Well, about 6, you know, I mean, I knew I had a great comeback story, and as I was building clean time and sobriety and impacting people with my story and with the ESPN documentary and just touching people's lives, what I realized is the value in my story, and it's unique. And we have a problem out there. You know, we have a drug problem that is everywhere, and we need to talk to every kid in the country. And so that's been my quest.
And we're thrilled you came back to Upstate this week, and I know it's your message that you shared with some high school wrestlers in Muscatello's earlier tonight, and let's listen in.
It's the story about perseverance. It's a story about reaching for your goals and actually finding success. You know, that first college season when I came back at 36 years old, fat and out of shape, and lots of baggage of addiction with me, and I had been sober a couple of years, and I realized that I needed wrestling to be able to find success in my life. I didn't know if I was going to be able to stay sober, but I knew for sure that wrestling would be the linchpin to helping me to reorganize my life. You got to dig deep, you got to sacrifice, you got to believe in yourself more than anything else in the world, and that's what I had to do. And I couldn't be distracted by anything, or else I wasn't going to get where I wanted to be. It doesn't take much to get distracted these days. There's a lot of stuff going on, phones, this, that, girls. Man, you know, if you want something bad enough, you really got to focus on it.
Brittany Devane is here now, and you were at Muscatello's tonight, and did the message seem to resonate with the wrestlers?
Well, you saw it there. There was nobody making a sound. Everyone was at attention listening to him when he spoke. When he speaks, I mean, you heard him for a while today, just the two of you. He commands the floor. So I think he definitely hit home his message that just about overcoming adversity and the importance of wrestling in people's lives.
Were you inspired? Do you have any eligibility left?
I don't think so for wrestling, or at least that's what I'm going to tell people, because I have no interest in going out there on the mat. But I think everyone has their own wrestling. You find something in your life that you're just inspired by, and so I'll find my wrestling.
All right, thanks, Brittany. Well, coming up, Shaker graduate Tom McCainley is switching teams. Which big league team has acquired the flamethrowing reliever? Find out next on The Edge.